landscape of 2024, FaceTime and Zoom are now well and truly commonplace. Video calling is now so easy, even my parents can do it. That says something about how far video calling has come since its sketchy days back in the late 80s, I think it was. Matt, video calling has come a long way in 35 years.
It has, and I just found this example where I thought it'd be worthwhile talking about this with a bit of historical context. Mitsubishi Visitel video phone was released in March 1988.
Oh.
So we had video telephones back then. Now, when I say we had them, there was a product that was available. Mitsubishi obviously got onto the bandwagon and said, well, we'll introduce the device. And I watched a picture of it in operation, and it was a fairly large handset that sat on your desk. And there was a screen there, maybe it was a 5 centimetre square screen or thereabouts, so you could just peer and see this little tiny mono-colour picture of a person at the other end. And obviously, the person at the other end had to have the identical handset. So obviously Mitsubishi was trying to sell these in pairs. So it didn't really take off. They needed people to buy the same system. There was no standard protocol for it. And you needed to have some way of transmitting this low-quality video image between the two sites. We didn't have this universal internet thing that could transmit lots of data around at the time. So I think, well done to Mitsubishi. They had something that was way ahead of the game. AT&T also tried something called a picture phone. Sony had a Vizio phone. They weren't good enough. There wasn't enough data bandwidth availability. And there was still a lot of work to be done in progressing with codecs and compression algorithms to get to the point where we could do what we do now with lots of clever algorithms to do that. But I do love the fact that way back in 1988, before really anyone was thinking about video calls, someone came out with it. The one I thought that might have changed the game was in 2007. If you remember the TV series called 24, Jack Bauer. It was 24 hours in the life of Jack Bauer.
Kiefer Sutherland, I think it was. Yeah,
exactly right. Yep. And there was an episode in 2007 called Day 6, and in that they had Cisco telepresence. Cisco paid a lot of money to be the telephone provider in this series, because every time they made a phone call, it would focus in on the Cisco logo while they're making the phone call. And everyone was saying, wow, look at what Cisco can do. Before we know it, video calls will take off. And of course, they didn't in 2007. It took a pandemic for us to finally say, hey, maybe this video calling is a really good idea, and to the point where your parents are now doing video calls without thinking about it, FaceTime and Zoom and Teams and all sorts of things. So maybe back
Funny how necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it?
Absolutely right. So maybe the problem for Mitsubishi back in 1988 wasn't their technology. They just needed a pandemic in 1988, and that would have then progressed video calling to the point where we are now.